Should you seek investment? And if you should seek investment, what should you go after? And how can you make yourself look good to an acquisition partner or an invest partner? How can you make sure that you're approaching with the right pitch? And what should you say? And should you be honest about this or that? There's a lot of questions when you're seeking funding. Fortunately, Joe Dormani from Thomson Reuters Ventures, he's an investor and he invests in all sorts of different great early stage SaaS companies. He lays out exactly what he looks for and what you can do in your company to make yourself look fantastic to an investor. There are specific things he talks about here that if you're looking for investment, you're going to want to hear them. Check this one out.
Welcome to Scale Your SaaS, the podcast that gives you proven techniques and formulas for boosting your revenue and achieving your dream exit. Brought to you by a guy who's done just that multiple times. Here is your host, Matt Wolach.
And welcome to Scale Your SaaS. Very glad to have you here. Thank you very much for being here. Super excited about today. It's going to be a really fun one. By the way, if this is your first time here, our goal is to help you scale your SaaS, do exactly what the show says. So we're going to talk to you all about different ways to grow your lead volume, to close more deals, to set up your company for success, and to get to your ultimate goal. And today, one of those ways of doing that is going to be with Joe. Joe Dormani is with us. I'm super excited about it. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Super excited to be here and excited about the conversation.
Me too. So let me know, let me make sure everybody knows about you, Joe. So I'm going to do a little intro for you. So Joe is a partner at Thomson Reuters Ventures, and really he's currently an investment partner there. It's $100 million corporate venture fund where he leads a team of global investors. And really, as an investor himself, Joe specializes in machine learning, enterprise automation, and vertical SaaS startups, something that a lot of us here listening to this are definitely keyed in on. Joe has led over a dozen startup investments, M&A deals valued in the hundreds of millions, also driven strategy for multi-billion-dollar organizations, and helped scale high-growth software products. Joe's passion for promising technology sees him as an active member of the New York tech environment, where he serves as an advisor to several incubators and early-stage startups. And I am super excited that he's taken time to join us. So, Joe, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah. Glad to be here. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about Thomson Reuters Ventures and what we're looking at in the markets. Perfect.
So tell me, what have you been up to lately and what's coming up for you guys?
Yeah, great. So thanks, again, for the introduction to Thomson Reuters Ventures. So a lot of what we focus on is in the Series A stage for startup investing. So, after initial financing, but before some of the later stage, financing deals that happen. So we're looking at companies that are 1 million to 5 million in ARR. We're looking, a couple of specific areas that align to the focus areas of the corporation. So we're very big on legal tech. We focus a lot on tax software, risk, compliance, automation, fraud prevention, detection. We do a little bit in news and media. Everyone knows, Reuters, the news business. But our main sort of thematic focus across the markets that we focus on are machine learning, natural language processing, and like you said, task and process automation. So really that sweet spot of the Series A company that has, really good product market fit and is starting to really turn on the sales and go to market function and starting to scale that business, build out their product and really take market share. And a big part of what we like to do when we make investments, when we look at companies that we work with, we have like a leg still in the sort of operating world as part of the corporation that we're part of, Thomson Reuters. So we like to get involved with the companies that we work with. We like to see what we can do, whether that be a partnership or an integration, or if there are experts or professionals in our network or in our businesses that can help bring that expertise to the companies we invest in to help accelerate them. We like to roll our sleeves up and get involved with the companies we invest in.
I love that. I think that's super valuable. And myself, as a former founder of software and current founder, I guess, it's so nice when you have an investment partner who's able to come in and kind of give you some of their capabilities and their background experience so it can help you grow. And the money's one thing, but having that knowledge and that insight, those connections, even that capability to help you scale is so critical. And I'm sure that your investments, they love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of how we pitch and how we differentiate ourselves. We focus very specifically on those markets that I talked about, and like in those markets, Thomson Reuters as a brand, we have a really good reputation with our customers, and we have a really, really good relationships with our customers. We're very much a trusted partner to a lot of our customers. And a lot of what they lean on us to do, besides just buying the products that we buy, is help them navigate all of the industry complexity, whether that be things like regulatory changes, or whether that be a dynamic technology environment where things are rapidly developing, new companies are popping up, and they do rely on us to help them navigate that new startup landscape, help them try new types of technology. So it's a really critical position for us, and it's advantageous for our customers. It's also advantageous for us as a fund, but it's importantly also advantageous for the companies we invest with. They get access to customers that they maybe would take longer time to access otherwise.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. You yourself, how did you develop a skill and passion for investing in tech? Where do you get this love?
Yeah. So I often hear stories about how people get into venture, and I'm always like somewhat jealous and also somewhat intrigued by others' story. My story is kind of a 10-year slog of just trying to pick up all the skills and do all the things that need to be done to be able to participate in this ecosystem. And so I sort of started my career on the startup side of the world, and very early on into my career, the company that I was working for got acquired. And that was really my first introduction to this world of where companies get invested in and then bought and sold all the time. And I kind of fell in love with that world. And I was like, okay, I got to do all the things that you got to do to become part of this venture capital industry. So, I spent time learning about product and technology, spent time, on financing, did the MBA thing, went back to school, and then, joined Thomson Reuters in this post-MBA rotational program. So I was very fortunate to work in corporate development. I was very fortunate to work in go-to-market strategy. And then I landed in sort of the product tech world for a number of years, kind of worked my way through to the corporate strategy side of the world, did a bunch of M&A for the corporation. And then when it came time, for them to launch a fund, I had also been working with a lot of incubators in New York, getting on startup advisory boards, kind of doing what I could do to interact with different companies in and around New York, and just trying to add value where I could. And by the time TR was ready to launch their fund, it was one of those things where I was really well positioned. They really couldn't tell me no at that point. And so I'm lucky enough to spin the fund up, get us started. We brought on our managing director, Tamara Steffens, who used to run Microsoft Ventures, M12. And so between her, myself, and our chief product officer, David Wong, and our chief strategy officer, Dave Larson, we have a really well-rounded investment committee, and now we have a team of a couple of investors in New York. So, it kind of took this long journey to get here, but I was very fortunate along the way to pick up a lot of different skills that I think serve pretty well when thinking about direct investments in early stage companies, and really we think of ourselves. And I think of myself as a company builder as well, and bringing those operational skills to the companies we invest in, I think, is a big benefit for working with us.
You said you're fortunate. I actually think you did a great job. This is something that others need to follow more. Early on, you kind of identified exactly where you wanted to be, and you realized what you needed to do to get there. And so you went out, got the experience, got the education, and did what you needed to do. So like you said, when there was an opportunity, they couldn't say no. You had every piece of the puzzle that was needed. And I think that's not only the way to get the job, but now it makes you somebody who's extremely capable and extremely powerful within your role. So for everybody out there who's saying, hey, I wish I could do this, wish I could do this, follow Joe's lead and set your goal and then go out and get it. And I absolutely love that. So Joe, tell me, how does a company know? You're a SaaS company, you're a SaaS leader, you're a founder. How does that founder know that they should go out and get investment, or should they try and stay bootstrapped? What would be some of your advice to somebody who's thinking like that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a nuanced question, which I love. The way I think about these things is you got to sort of turn that question around on its head a little bit, and the way that I think about fundraising is you should have an idea of where you want your business to be over a certain period of time. You have to have some foresight. You have to understand the market. You have to understand the product, the problem you're solving. You have to have an idea of what maybe it's not a permanent end state, but maybe it's a big milestone for an end state where you want your product and business to be, and you have to work back from that. Is the way that I always think about it. So, and having an idea of what you're trying to achieve can help dictate how you think about fundraising, how you think about the milestones that you want to set yourself from an operational standpoint to be able to hit to justify that funding. Like, every company does not need to raise venture capital. I actually think there are many companies that can just be lifestyle business, can stay bootstrapped, and it would be disadvantageous to take on venture capital specifically to a business that maybe doesn't really have the aspiration or want or need to rapidly scale or rapidly go out and capture market share. So it really is about identifying what you're trying to achieve over a certain period of time and working back from that. So if you feel like you're building a product in a market that has a bunch of opportunity and you really need funding to go out and capture that opportunity, and that opportunity feels somewhat time bound, those are some of the characteristics where it starts to make sense to go out and raise venture financing. Because with venture financing, the expectation is that there will be this sort of rapid growth, this and it doesn't necessarily only have to be revenue, right? It could be other sort of growth metrics, but usage, all different types of ways that we would be able to measure whether or not a product has product market fit. But so, like, when we think about what is a good circumstance to go raise venture capital, it's when you have a pretty good definitive idea about what you're trying to achieve with a certain amount of money, and where you have pretty good line of sight into what you might want to achieve from a development side, organizationally, maybe scaling a go-to-market team, or getting technologists or data scientists to build out the next set of capabilities from an infrastructure standpoint. So it really should be dictated by that end state that you can clearly define, articulate, and then ultimately justify from a sort of thesis standpoint. And then, like I said, working back from that, what are the things that you're going to use that capital for and achieve by raising that funding, so that you can give confidence to investors that you're going to be able to execute on that end state. I think those are some of the conditions that I like to think about.
We'll be right back. Scale Your SaaS is supported by ToroWave. Lots of software leaders I talk to are looking to scale their SaaS. And I keep hearing over and over about one major struggle: getting ghosted by buyers after the demo. How frustrating is it when you have a great demo, you're feeling good, they like it, it seems like a done deal, and then crickets, nothing. You reach out, they're not responding to you at all. And when these software companies, they ask me to dive in, I notice that these sellers are following up the wrong way, or actually I should say with the wrong medium. What they're doing is they're hammering emails over and over again. I got a news flash for you. Email effectiveness is dwindling down and down every year. So why beat your head against the wall losing all kinds of business? Start texting, mix in texts along with emails and calls, and watch your conversion rates go up. In fact, conversion rates go up by about 50% when you use texting as part of the follow-up. People are used to it. And did you know the response rate on texts is 98%? 98%. So why throw emails into a black hole knowing that they're never going to get returned? Text buyers and get results. But don't use your own phone. All kinds of security and compliance issues if you do. Also, none of that data is with your company. That's not good. Instead, use this system, ToroWave. ToroWave is designed for sales. It makes texting with buyers super simple and fast, and it helps drive more deals. Deals that you've been losing until now. For being a listener, you get 50% off your first month of using ToroWave. 50% off. Just go to torowave.com/scale. That's TOROWAVE.com/scale. Get signed up and start winning more deals, like Tracy, who closed $170,000 in 3 days after starting. Again, go to torowave.com/scale. Catch up and win by texting with ToroWave. And we're back. Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I would echo that based on what I've seen also with my clients and even in my career. What I want to ask then is, okay, so let's say they make that decision and they say, okay, it is right. Let's go find some funding. How can a leader or a set of leaders for a software company set themselves up for success that will make them and their company more attractive to investment?
Yeah. And it's another one that can come up through, there's a lot of angles to answer that question, but I think it largely builds off the last couple of points that I was making, which are, I think you have to have a really good story for why you're building the company. Some of the things that make an attractive company are having the right leaders in place who understand the market that they're going after and understand the business that they're building, so that they're well qualified to go and build that company, that product, and build that business in that market. Being able to explain that story, being able to explain the market that they're operating in, why it's a big market, why the dynamics of the market dictate that now is the right time to be building this company, why the product that they have developed is differentiated and has the ability to sustain that differentiation over a long period of time. You have to be able to not only tell that story and explain a lot of those things, but you also have to be able to demonstrate an ability to execute on the things that you say that you're going to go do. And the best way, what I always get most excited about is when a founder can tell me, look, over the last 6 months, we've said we were going to get from 250K to 750K in ARR. And we did that. We said we were going to hire 3 engineers and build 4 features over the last 9 months. We did that. And we hired 2 go-to-market people, one on the sales side, one on the marketing side. They're going to drive XYZ top of funnel and ABC in new sales ARR. And we did that. So that's my track record in this company. Right. And I'm just giving examples. It doesn't have to be those don't have to be those metrics or those things. It's
Sure.
really any set of things that can give the investor confidence that when you say, if you invest in me, I'm going to build this business and scale it to 5 million in ARR over the next 24 months. And I only need however much the funding round is they're asking for to go do that. To me, the way to gain credibility is to have that really strong story surrounded by demonstratable track record for things that you've achieved. And they don't have to be these like amazing things that maybe are super hard to achieve. They can just be, we had an idea 6 months ago. We have a POC today, right? So it really, depending on the size and stage of a startup, like, it can be a variety of different things that you can use to demonstrate your track record, and then, why it makes sense for you to raise a certain amount of financing and what you're going to go do with that funds. But really telling that story around, how you're going to execute, what you're going to do with the investment, why this market is interesting, why you're uniquely positioned to go execute on it. Those are some of the key ingredients that I think of that for like the successful companies that we invest in, like those are all generally present.
I love it. I think it's so important. I really respect that because it's such a great look at it. I mean, so many times we say we're going to do something and then it doesn't happen. If you can demonstrate that you can execute, that you can actually deliver, I mean, that's got to be super attractive to an investor to see that they had these plans, they went out, they did exactly what was needed, they made it happen. Now they've got these plans. I have a lot of belief and trust that they can go make that happen too. I mean, that's got to feel great as an investor to see that history of execution.
Yeah, it is great. And it also helps bring clarity. I think oftentimes when we're trying to frame up an investment, it's not trying to predict what is going to happen. It's more so identifying a set of conditions on what you sort of need to believe and identifying where the risks are to that thesis, right? And if you can help an investor bring clarity to those points, I think you either get to a quick no, which is almost just as good, or you help them get the conviction for a yes.
Love it. So tell me, what are some of the early mistakes companies are making that are making them not a good investment? So that's the good thing. Go out and execute. What would be some of the things that make you say, ooh, we don't want to be a part of this?
Yeah. And look, it's hard to be a founder. It's hard to raise money. It's hard to build companies. So, any feedback that I might have is said with a lens of immense respect, right? It's like, I wish I could build super successful startups. I can't, so I have to invest in them, right? So, that's the caveat. But that being said, some of the things that I've observed in the opportunity that I have to meet so many companies are that things don't go well when companies try to blur the actuality of the business, where maybe the story isn't as good as a founder would want it to be, and there's just not transparency about what the realities of the company are. It doesn't make for a good situation. You don't want investors coming on board when they don't have clarity on what you're trying to achieve or what the current state of the business is. It just usually doesn't wind up with a good result. So I would encourage more transparency, even if the reality is not, it's not ideal or not what you would want it to be. It's much better to just be transparent with what the reality of the business is today and find the right investor for you, because there's plenty of capital out there looking for opportunities with that capital, a lot of unique experience. Finding the right investor for any certain situation is usually an advantageous situation. So I would say, more transparency, and then, that sort of extends to another thing that we see a lot of time, which is over-raising or trying to push for, a higher valuation than, what the current company or the market might justify. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes we see some of this done for vanity reasons, or just because, there are investors in the market who have, who are willing to have a little bit, we'll call it maybe less financial discipline, write bigger checks, underwrite, riskier situations. But taking a little bit more dilution, finding the right investor and finding a relationship with that investor that is going to bring something of value for the business to the table is a much better scenario than just, taking the highest valuation and, raising as much money as possible. Sometimes that's the right thing to do. And, but very often, I think it's a bit of a trap for founders.
Wow. Yeah. Super good advice. So as we wrap up here, what advice would you have for early stage companies who are looking to seek investment, about ready to go out and start having these conversations? What would you tell them?
So, I think one of the best stories for a company to tell an investor is actually not what the company's management can tell you about the product. It's actually what the customers can tell you. And obviously, different companies are at different stages, and getting customers are hard. But getting feedback from customers is something that is generally not as hard as selling. So if you can supplement your story for why a market is interesting, for why your product is really great, and here's what 5 customers have told us about this the product that we're building and their willingness to buy, or here's what our customers tell us about when they use our products and the difference it has made in the way that we operate, in the way that it has changed our behavior. Before we used to do things one way, now we do things another way. Having that customer feedback along with all of the other aspects of the story around the company is just a differentiator, right? It is something that will set you apart from, many of the companies that are kind of going through the fundraising process. And it's not the easiest thing to do in the world, but I will say that is one thing, getting to observe and participate in product development with a large corporation like Thomson Reuters, and observing and working with the companies in our portfolio and the startups. The good startups do this. And the product teams at TR, they are very much customer centric and building great products. We've seen it up close, and build so much credibility and trust from a brand perspective. So yeah, my advice would be, when thinking about your fundraising process, think about bringing the voice of your customer to the forefront of that pitch.
That's amazing advice. And it echoes exactly what I teach my clients as well. Stories, success stories of your customers sell and get more customers. Well, it's the same thing for investment. If you're showing success stories, if you're showing that people absolutely love working with you, love the product, it's going to work really well. So that is awesome advice. And I'm really glad that you came on to share it, Joe. This has been amazing. Guys, he's Joe Dormani from Thomson Reuters Ventures. Joe, how can people learn more about you and Thomson Reuters Ventures?
Yeah, so easiest way is to check me out on LinkedIn. I try and post on a regular basis. So you can just look me up, Joe Dormani, on LinkedIn. And then we have a website, trventures.com. You can check out what we're doing, what we're investing in, and how we think about prioritizing companies that we engage with.
Perfect. We'll put all that in the show notes. So if you're listening, you'll be able to grab it there. But Joe, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Matt. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Everybody out there, thanks for listening. Make sure you're subscribed to the show. You don't want to miss any other amazing leaders like Joe coming in and sharing all of their best advice with you. So hit that subscribe button right now, and then we will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Scale Your SaaS. For more help on finding great leads and closing more deals, go to mattwolach.com.